Hello, I'm Cash, and welcome back to In the Corner, episode 4. So yesterday was Saturday. We had the first Saturday fight day of the year. Not the first Saturday, but the first, like real fight day. We had Opataya versus Nika on Wednesday, but that felt a little bit different because it was going on in the middle of the night here in the States, so couldn't really watch it live. And it was on a Wednesday, just it didn't like fully get like the, you know, normal fight day feel that you have. But Saturday definitely did have that. We had two cards. We had the boxer card and we had the UFC card, both of which actually were a lot better in terms of entertainment wise compared to what we were expecting, just because it didn't have the same name value. They weren't big cards or anything, but they had some pretty good fights and some pretty good um, stoppages on both of them. So we'll talk about that. We also had the Ring Awards on Saturday, which we'll talk about what I thought about that broadcast. But yeah, so the first annual Ring Awards, it's meant to be like the Ballon d'Or, but for boxing. I thought that it was pretty cool. I think that some of the ways that they presented it was a little bit weird, so I'll talk about my thoughts on that. We've got some news that we can talk about. The biggest thing, and this is what one of the main topics of today's episode is the Naoya Inoue fight. So Sam Goodman has withdrawn from the fight yet again. With I think it's a recurrence of the same eye injury. I don't know if it cut back open or if he, just kind of like they doctors deemed it like, yeah, it hasn't healed as well as we thought it was going to. You're still not going to be able to fight with the new date. So he's out yet again. They're not going to postpone it with him. They're going to keep the date, and Naoya Inoue is now going to fight. I think his name is Ye Joon Kim, from South Korea, and this is probably one of the worst world title fights, like world title opponents to be brought in, but definitely the worst undisputed world title opponent. Like this guy's getting a shot at the undisputed championship. And we'll just talk about, like, it just doesn't make any sense at all why he's the guy that gets the late notice call up. Yeah, so that's pretty much all we're going to talk about in today's episode. A few other tidbits we'll go over, but yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, so just this Inoue fight, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all why this is the backup opponent that they have. I mean, he is, I think his record wise, he is 21 and 2, so 2 draws, 2 losses, 21 wins, 13 knockouts. Um, he lost an 8 rounder last year, and has come back and won 2 fights since then. He had one fight in the past year, and that was in May in 2024, where he won the WBO Oriental Super Bantamweight Championship. Um, he lost his second fight in his pro debut in 2012. He has had uh, a total of, I think, uh, five 12 rounders in his career. He's won all of them. He's won he held the IBF Asia Championship for a while. And has had some other fights here and wins over not great opposition. Just looking at the guys that he fought in his 12 rounders and his 12 round fights, he fought um, the record wise 14 and 5, 12 6 and 3, 28 12 and 1, 10 and 5, 17 4 and 1. And he lost to somebody in his 8 rounder in 2023 that he lost by majority decision to someone who was 14 and 9. Um, doesn't really look like he's ever fought anyone necessarily of note. Um, in fact, all the again, just looking at the records, which I know record isn't everything, but when the records are this low, it's pretty bad. The only undefeated opponents he's ever fought were the first 3 opponents in his career in 4 rounders, and he lost one of those. I mean, I don't understand why, and apparently this has been the opponent for a while. Um, that the guys at Ohashi Promotions, apparently they were asked a while ago when the first Goodman fight fell through in December. They said, "Oh no, yeah, we have a backup opponent already, in case this happens again." So they've had this opponent for a while. So it's not like they were scrambling and they called up everyone and nobody could do it. I mean, they as soon as this fight got canceled, it was like within 12 hours they'd announced the replacement opponent. And I mean, it just makes me wonder. I'm like, did they even try to get somebody, who was like actually more deserving? I mean, Inoue has a lot of like mandatories that are really worthy of the fight, more so even than the guy he's fighting. Like Sam Goodman, a lot of people don't even think that he's the number two in the division. I think it's Merjan Akhmadaliev. I think that Sam Goodman maybe three. You've also got John Rio Casimiro there. You got Alan Picasso. You have, I mean, I know he's already fought them, but you have guys like Marlon Tapales. You got guys like Luis Neri, um, Ramon Cardenas, Elijah Pierce, uh, Shabazz Massoud. I mean, I mean, it's not like, it's not like they have a guy on the undercard who is, I don't know, ranked in the top 15 for three of the sanctioning bodies and has already been preparing for a fight on the date. Oh wait, they do. Toshiki Shimamachi is ranked number 5 with the IBF. He's ranked number 11 with the WBA, and he's ranked number 6 with the WBC. He's not ranked with the WBO. And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that so Goodman is mandatory with both the IBF and the WBO. I thought that he was I thought that this was the IBF's mandatory shot, that they were the ones who like officially ordered it. I'm thinking of maybe the WBO because Shimamachi, that's the only division where he's not ranked with. And I'm not saying like, oh, it had to have been Shimamachi. It just would have made way more sense. And even that fight, we would still probably be complaining. But at least that like makes sense, Like he's highly ranked with many of the divisions. On BoxRec, he's number 8. On BoxRec, Ye Joon Kim, the actual opponent, is ranked number 57 in the world. 57. I mean, I know BoxRec rankings aren't that great, but should number 1 really be fighting number 57? And just even okay, like take it. Let's say we know the way that it works with the IBF, like we saw with Opataya last week. Mandatory can't fight, you go down the list. I don't think it's that way with the WBO. Let's say it is, and that's why they didn't just call up Shimamachi, or maybe it's because Shimamachi had a Japanese championship fight that they wanted to keep that fight on the card and not, screw over the other guy, whatever. That means that they skipped over a total of 9 names to get down the list to Ye Joon Kim. 9 names. Granted, on there you've got Dennis McCann, who is can't fight right now because he got banned for a little bit, I think. Actually, I don't know if he's been banned yet, but he did test positive for drugs, so he may be getting banned. There are guys on there who already have fights scheduled, I know. Picasso, I think they've already signed the contract for his fight with Inoue in the States. We're pretty sure that's what's next. But, are you really going to tell me that nobody an excuse that a lot of people have made for Inoue, and again, I love Inoue. I think he's a great fighter. I don't think that he necessarily is like, no, give me the easiest fight you can. I think that a lot of people are trying to defend this, and there's no way to defend it. It's unfathomable. It makes no sense. It's one of the dumbest things I've seen for, somebody who's this good. He's a generational great, and we're just watching his legacy. Just like, he's fought a lot of great fighters, but of recent, I mean, the last fight was T.J. Doheny, and that one, everyone was like, why the hell is he fighting Doheny? Like what's the point of that? And now Doheny gets a world title shot in his next fight in the division up, which makes even less sense against Nick Ball, but Nick Ball is going to erase him. But, I mean, he fights TJ Doheny and Ye Joon Kim, and it's as an undisputed champion, when there are about 15, 20 more deserving contenders to fight him. It really sucks. Like, to be honest, I would have rather, in a way, not kept his January 24th date. I would have rather him just canceled the fight and said, okay, I'll be back in the States. I think that now they're trying to get him to have 4 fights this year because the plan was for him to fight 3 times last year. December fight got moved to January. Their plan, I think, is to do, like, April in Vegas, sometime in late summer, early fall, I think, and then, like, September, I think. And then I think that they were also talking about or at least Eddie Hearn said he wants to see Inoue versus MJ in December in Saudi Arabia. And we know Saudi plans their stuff out way far in advance, as does Japan. So I'm guessing that the plan is for there to be some kind of big Riyadh season card in December, and they want Inoue, Akhmadaliev to feature on that. Maybe in headline. I don't know what kind of a card it is, but I just like it. Just doesn't make any sense. And the excuse that people are making up for him to defend this is that none of the contenders would step up to take the fight on 2 weeks' notice. Like, y'all, do you not know what like every single boxer's like goal is to get the world champion shot? And they know when there's an undisputed champion specifically, you have to wait a really long time. Akhmadaliev has been waiting for a year and a half. As has Sam Goodman. Because there's so many different guys that are waiting, and usually they all get their world title shots because there's usually 4 world champions. But when there's only one, it takes them a while to get around to them. So you bring in guys like this that don't deserve it, and people are saying, oh no, this guy's getting it because everybody else wouldn't pick up the phone. And I mean, like, are you really going to tell me? And true, you know what? Maybe Akhmadaliev, he just had a fight, even though, scraped, did fine. And, he's somebody that actually could pose a threat to Inoue. So maybe they said, we're gonna wait, and we're gonna, would rather build this more, have a full training camp. But guys like Ramon Cardenas, who even has a fight scheduled, or like Elijah Pierce, or Picasso even maybe, or Casimero, these guys, are you really gonna tell me that they wouldn't pick up the phone and say yes in a heartbeat for the biggest payday of their life, the biggest fight of their life? Like they may not get that fight. They may not. Casimero may, Picasso will. But guys like, Cardenas, he's not going to get that fight. No way. He's going to have to wait until Inoue moves up. Unless he does something crazy. Like so many guys on this list, like they're not going to get the fight. So, like if they were offered, they would have taken it. They weren't offered. We know that they've had Kim on the call for a month. It just really sucks to see. And this is why, you kind of hate boxing sometimes. And I hate it for Inoue. Because, I don't think that he's such a fan favorite, and I don't think that he necessarily is a duck. But when you line up the Akhmadaliev situation and why he's not fighting him, and, you line up this, just taking, like, a absolutely pathetic world title challenger, it's just like, man, like, you're getting managed a little bit wrong here. You're getting guided in a little bit of a misdirection. Because he'll take the smoke. He's up for it. And he'll beat them all. There's nobody around his division that has any threat to him. The only guy is Nakatani maybe. And maybe like at featherweight just because of the size, like somebody like Espinosa's big. But like really like in a way Nakatani's the only guy that I think like even really has any sort of a chance against Inoue. He is a generational great. And he's fighting this guy. It just sucks. It really does just suck. Yeah, no, I hope that they can do. I hope now we can get 4 world title fights. I'm assuming that Inoue I would like Inoue to go in there and deal with him as quick as possible, come out with no injury whatsoever, and get right back in there. Like they have a fight planned for April. You have to get that April fight back. It'll be in the States, which is something what people have been, demanding for him to do. I'm not somebody who's like, he needs to fight in the States. I would love for him to fight in the States, but he doesn't need to. But if they can get him over there, they can get him a fight against Picasso, who was there are other people I think definitely deserve it more than Picasso, but, I'd rather see Picasso fight this guy than him. Like that's a good opponent. Get him out there again. Like you're going to have to like rebuild like the hype around him a little bit, or at least just like the public sentiment, because it's just unbelievable. Like it truly is. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got on the Inoue situation. That fight is on January 24th. I think it's at the Ariake Arena again in Tokyo. ESPN Plus. Yeah, no, I don't know. I was excited for Inoue Goodman. I knew Inoue was going to beat him, but Goodman's still a good fighter. This is just, I'm still just like in shock that this is the guy that they called up. Honestly, like, I fully would have rather them said, no, we're not going to fight on that date. We'll be back in April. It would have sucked, But if we knew that that was the option, yeah, because like there's no like why are they gonna waste their time, energy, and money on this fight? Like it's so stupid. But you know, whatever. Okay, now that I'm done with ranting about the Inoue fight, let's talk about the card this weekend, the two cards. So we had Callum Simpson versus Steed Woodall. This was at the Sheffield Cannon Medical Arena. Seven fights on the docket. You had Simpson and Woodall, which fought for the British Commonwealth and WBA Continental, I believe, belts at 168 pounds. You had Caroline Dubois defending her WBC lightweight world title against Jessica Kamara. And then also on the card, you had five prospects. Now, if we go through this, listen, this was a card that I remember when they announced it at first with the Simpson and Dubois fights. I was like, okay, cool. You know, like those are good fights, or you know, at least like good opponents for them. You know, like I like that they're gonna do a double header. You know, it's not in like a huge arena. You know, so it'll be like nice and compact in there because it's not a big fight. Like there's no need to do it in a stadium. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, like let's do it. Bet. Then they announced the undercard, and I just remember looking and being like, yikes. You know, and at that point, Reese Edwards was still on the card, you know, who, at least he's still like a guy, you know, he's still like, you know, British contender. You know, I think he had like a WBA regional belt. He would at least be fighting in like a 10-rounder. He took the fight against Peter McGrail, lost it closely on the Fury Usyk undercard. But, you know, we end up getting this card. And they've got five other fights on it. And I just remember, like, them, like, you know, somebody said, like they posted it saying, like, oh, like, such a stacked card. And, like, this card was just getting so much hate because it's just, like, it's not at all good. And I actually think that Boxer does usually a pretty good job at doing good undercards. I mean, if you look at a lot of their cards from last year, you know, if it's, like, one of their bigger cards, it's weird. I feel like they've got it backwards where and I'm not going to complain because their big cards are awesome. Well, you'll have Wardley Clark as the main event, and then you'll have like a lot of really good fights on the undercard. I mean, Callum Simpson opened up the main broadcast on that card. He opened it up on a non-pay-per-view card, and then you had Vidal Riley on that card. You had Florian Marcoux versus Chris Congo. You had some other like I think you had another pretty good heavyweight fight, and there's one other one I'm forgetting, but. Oh, you had Ben Whitaker on that card as well. I mean, that's a great card. The Billum Smith Reactpor card was really stacked. The Buatsi Aziz card, the Adam Azim card. Like, they know how to put a good card together. It's just that I feel that when they have their smaller cards, they feel, okay, let's save all of our bigger names for the big cards, and let's just not put a lot on this card. And I'm like, no. For the smaller cards, you want to put a lot of, like, other you know, like accurately, like similarly sized names on that card, so people look at it and they're like, wow, this card is stacked. You know, because people are gonna watch like, the big main event fights. People are gonna watch those fights anyways with the cards, whatever you put on it. But these little ones, you know, if they look at it, they're always like, oh, I'll just watch the main event. Or a lot of people say, I'm just not even gonna watch this because Callum Simpson and Caroline Dubois, like Callum Simpson may sell a lot of tickets, but he's not necessarily like globally like a really big name that people are gonna tune into, especially you know when he's fighting a fighter that he's you know, was a decent favorite. And I thought Steed Woodall was a good opponent coming off the Lerone Richards knockout, but regardless, we knew Simpson was going to beat him. However, what is good about these cards is when the expectations are at the floor, you're not that, you know, a lot of the times when you have those big cards and they're so stacked, you can kind of overlook some of the fights. Like when it was like Usyk and Fury, that was so huge that like something like Isaac Lowe and Lee McGregor, I didn't really care about because I was just like getting excited for the main event. When I was like, hey, that was a really good matchup. That's a really good fight. You know, if that was the main event and they had all these prospects on there, I'd get more excited. So when you're not as excited for the main event, you know, when I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for Simpson Woodall, it makes you enjoy the whole card more. That's why I think that they need to stack these cards more, regardless. You know, I was like, okay, I mean, like, hey, may as well watch these. There's no other fights on. Like, let's just watch these British prospects. And they actually ended up being pretty entertaining. And usually I give a lot of stick to boxer prospects in particular. I'm not sure why, but if like every single time they have their prelim section, it's 3 or 4 fights of just them going the distance. You know, and not really trying that hard. Their opponents don't really try, and I don't like that. I get bored. They had some good matchmaking on this card. Ellis Price, he started off with a first round TKO, which was cool. Mario Silva He had a decision win. However, it was a pretty entertaining fight. His opponent, Emmanuel Zion, like brought it to him. Didn't really win many rounds, but he brought it to him and landed some good shots in there. He came to fight. Like it made for a good 6 rounder. Billy Denise versus Mickey Ellison was a really good fight, actually. 8 rounds, very close. I had it 77-75. Ref had it 77-76. So we had a draw round in there. Mickey Ellison is a good fighter. He's like 15-7. Gets in there with the undefeated Billy Denise, and I wouldn't be mad if you said that was a draw, or maybe even Ellison won. I do think Dennis definitely did enough to get the win, but it was a good fight. It was a really good matchmaking, and it was entertaining to watch. And then you get the main card, and I just thought this was really funny. None of the fights on the main card made it past 2 rounds. Sam Hickey got a pretty good round 1 TKO. Scott Forrest and Devon Miller. I was excited. I was a little bit worried about this one because usually when you get those big guys in there, especially in like the British shows, fighting like 6-8 rounders is just so like such a slugfest, and it's just not entertaining. This one was not. It's either a slugfest or it ends quickly. This one ended quickly, where I felt that Miller came in and was doing pretty well, and then Forrest just his power just like he just hit him and he just put him down. He had a really good knockout in the second round, or I guess it was a TKO, but amazing knockdown at least. It was good fights. Caroline Dubois, she got a round 1 knockdown, and then her opponent got cut from an accidental headbutt in the second round. Couldn't continue with the cut. So it ends up being a technical draw, which sucks, but it doesn't really matter. Dubois gets to keep her belt. We knew it was going to happen. Kamara did not come to fight at all. She was, visibly like uncomfortable and afraid in there, and Dubois was just coming at her. So we knew it was going to happen. And she gets to keep her belt, whatever. Everybody knows that she won, or was going to at least. She was going to get her out of there within 5 by the looks of it. And then the main event, Callum Simpson, came into this one with a heavy heart. Of course, his sister passed away since his last fight, which is very sad for him and his family. And definitely would have had an effect on his mindset. And, but he channeled it in the right place, where as soon as he was just coming into the ring, I could just tell. I was like, yeah, he's like a different type of like locked in, he's going to do this for his sister. And he did. Second round stopped him. He hit him. He got a great knockdown on him. And then Woodall gets back up. They keep fighting. I thought that this stoppage was not good at all. I think that Simpson would have been able to stop him a little bit more. I just think the ref did it too early. Simpson had hit him with some good shots, kind of hurt him, and then like immediately steps in with Woodall still on his feet after getting like a little bit wobbled from a couple seconds, and the ref steps in, and it just felt so weird, because even like Simpson landed those shots and then he backed up, so it wasn't even like he was like going for the kill. And then they literally were like both recovered and like ready to go at it again, and the ref steps in, and it was just really weird. It was like, what? So not a great stoppage, but we knew it was going to happen. Yeah, so 36 rounds on that main broadcast, only 7 of which took place, which is I like it. I feel like a lot of boxer cards, so many of the fights go the distance. That wasn't the case tonight. Only 2 went the distance, and those 2 fights were fun. So really, really fun card. I do like that. You have to have an appreciation for these smaller cards, because they still have the capability of, producing those moments. Same with the UFC card. I'm not going to go through every fight on the UFC card because there's 14, but this fight night started a little bit slower. It wasn't super exciting for a while, I thought. Some good matchmaking, but some of the fights were a little bit, like there was I'm going to try to say his name right, like Gadziazulov Lopez fight, where I felt like they were hugging against the fence, like not even like on the ground, just like standing up, like pushing each other against it for like the majority of the fight, so like that wasn't super entertaining, but as the fight was going on, it got a lot more entertaining. Jacoby Smith had a brilliant knockout. That was awesome. You had where is it, Jose Johnson getting submitted in the first round. He was the 6-foot flyweight, which is crazy build. He got submitted by Felipe Bunez in what was a really entertaining fight, really high energy, frantic, going around, like with each other, and they ended up on the ground where I think it was an armbar, if I'm correct, and like they were swapping positions, like moving around like every 2 seconds for that last like little bit there. Like they must have changed positions like 10 times in the span of like 20-30 seconds. So it was like really entertaining, like really fun to watch. And then Bunez does get the tap. So that was a really good featured prelim. Punahele Soriano had a really good knockout. That one was pretty quick, if I remember, in the first round. Christian Rodriguez upset Austin Bashi. Yeah, they said that Bashi. So I know he came off the Contender Series in this past season. Apparently he declined to be on it like 2 seasons ago because he wanted more time to develop, and which is interesting because he knows he needed more time to develop, and then he comes on a UFC debut. And I was just watching it, and a lot of people, this is what everyone was saying, is like it seems like he was too green, like was too like excited, like wasn't as calm, and like was just like doing too much, and I thought that his defense just wasn't all there, and he ended up, I was like he's gonna try and make this a grappling match, and he ended up losing a lot of his positions, and Rodriguez was just doing a really good job. He was remarkably calm and was just so easily towards the end of the fight just like switching over the positions. Bashi was never necessarily in danger, but I think he just got outclassed, which sucks, losing on your UFC debut. There was some hype around him, but like good thing is that you're young, come back. It's not the end of the world. Chris Curtis, Roman Kopylov. I saw this got fight of the night. Deserving of it. The other one I liked was the co-main event, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Curtis and Kopylov was back and forth. I gave Curtis round 1, Kopylov round 2, but like they were both like pretty close rounds, very competitive. Round 3, Kopylov definitely was winning. So it seemed like, okay, Kopylov will probably get this, probably going to get 29-28, and that's what I expected, and I'd be okay with that. That's what I had it as. The last second, Kopylov dropped Curtis like, really good knockdown, but like there was like 4 seconds left on the clock, and I think Kopylov just thought the round was over, so he walked off. And Curtis, had just gotten knocked down. He was like about to get back up, but then the ref just like stepped in and called it with like 1 second on the clock, and Curtis was like, reasonably like super pissed off, like he was kind of almost being held back. He was screaming at the ref, and he was walking towards him. For like a few minutes, and I get it, because, he had a chance there to actually win on the scorecards. Because if you give him round 1 and 2, which, I think that Kopylov definitely won 2 of those rounds, but I can see somebody giving Curtis both of those rounds, like maybe. Like he may have slightly edged 2 of them. But definitely I thought Kopylov did deserve the win way more. But, Curtis got robbed of the potential of a decision where the knockout, the ref stopped it and there was no need to. He wasn't in danger. He was fine. Like, yes, if Kopylov came in there and punched him one more time, yeah, you step in, you stop it. But Kopylov wasn't even going to hit him. The fight was over. There was no more punches, no more kicks, no more grappling. Like, there was nothing left to do in the fight. He got knocked down at the end, but that was it. You leave it. Go to the scorecards. He wasn't knocked out. It wasn't like Justin Gaethje getting knocked out and actually out. That's where you call it. I mean, he was fine. Yeah, he got stunned, but like the fight was over. There was no need to call a TKO because now Curtis doesn't get the fair chance to actually win the fight on the scorecards. Yeah, so that sucks. Regardless, it was still a good fight, and Kopylov was going to win anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but it just kind of sucks for Curtis because he did have a chance there, a small chance. Yeah, so that, you hate to see that. That was the other controversial stoppage, way more controversial than the Simpson one, but controversial nonetheless. Cesar Almeida, and I'm not kidding, he may have just made an early KO of the year contender 11 days in. And like, call me crazy, but like at the end of the year, UFC is going to come back to that and remember this as like one of the best ones. I was blown away by it. So Abdul Razak Al Hassan was beating up on Almeida. I think he had already dropped him. Yeah, he dropped him, and he had him up on the fence. He was hurting him. He was throwing a lot of shots, and I was saying like he's about to get this stoppage. Like maybe not like about to, but like if he keeps on coming at him the way that he is, he's going to get the stoppage on the next minute. And right when it seems like he's on the verge of doing something big, Almeida just throws one left hook right on the jaw, and Al Hassan goes to sleep. I mean, completely out, like just falls back flat on his head, he's flat on his back, and it was a scary knockout. But he was nuts. I mean, like genuinely, like early knockout of the year contender. 11 days in, that was one of the best knockouts I've seen in a while. It was remarkable. It was fantastic. Um, yeah, no, that was just really sick. That was probably my moment of the card and probably of the whole fight day. Um, that was just a brilliant, brilliant knockout. Co-main event: Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. Ponzinibbio got hurt a few times in the first round. Harris dropped him, like I think, like 3 times. Kept on getting back up. Round two, Ponzinibbio bounced back. I thought he won that round. But wasn't a super exciting fight in the second, as I remember correctly. Um, or at least it was kind of close. Round three, Ponzinibbio just lands a few good shots, and Harris was so hurt for like a minute, minute and a half, and Ponzinibbio does end up getting the TKO finish, as he should. It was a really good stoppage, but in my opinion, I was watching and I was just thinking, like, man, if this was in boxing, this would be way over. And I was kind of thinking, like, ref, like, what are you gonna do here? Because I mean, he was wobbling around the ring, around the cage for like over a minute, and it was a little bit like, I don't know if Ponzinibbio was tired, but if I was him, and I see a lot of guys do this, and I know you want to, it's still a fight. Like we saw with Al Hassan, you can get punched at any minute and get knocked out. He was controlling that fight, gets knocked out. But when they're hurt like that, where every single punch, any single hit that landed on Harris, it would strongly hurt him. So I'm like, dude, like he's totally out of it. Go in there, get the kill, and do it. Instead of like dragging him out. And he does end up doing it. But I was also saying, I was like, ref, like he is, like you don't need to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like he's done. Get him out of there. But it was a really, really good fight. Really good third round. It was crazy. Yeah, and then we get to the main event. Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas, sorry. Ribas won the first fight in 2019. I think it was by unanimous decision. I may be wrong. I know it was by decision though. I think Dern gets the armbar here in round 3. She was really working for that armbar all night. She had it for a little bit in round 1. Round 2, Ribas takes control. Dern really had control in round 1, so she takes it probably. Ribas bounces back, takes it in round 2. Pretty easy fight to score. Third round, Dern, was working for that armbar for like 2 minutes. And it seemed like okay, and then she abandoned it, and then she like hopped back. She had like 8 seconds on the clock, and she was like, "I'm gonna go for it," and she went for it. She got in a great position with it, and got in. I thought she almost broke her arm by the looks of it. Really great finish. Has her daughter in the cage after, which was sweet. It just made for a really exciting main event. Well, maybe not the whole fight was exciting, but the back and forth, with like, okay, who's winning, and then especially that third round with getting that armbar was a really exciting finish. She gets her revenge. If I'm correct, Ribas was more the favorite in this fight. That's what I saw most people saying. So this is a little bit of an upset, but good fight night. It was a good fight night. Started off a little bit slow in the prelims, like I said. There was a lot of decisions. But the main card was fantastic. Like every fight on the main card was just really, really exciting. Either a great finish or a really good fight. In fact, I think that it was the Rodriguez and Bashi. They were the only ones to go the distance on the main card. So awesome fight night. Again, like when you have these cards that aren't as exciting, they really have the potential to make something out of nothing. Maybe not nothing, but you don't need the big names to still put on exciting fights, and that was what Saturday showed. Okay, let's talk about the ring awards that happened yesterday. So, we can go through like who actually won the awards first. So the winner of Knockout of the Year went to Daniel Dubois. Now this one was one of the only ones I was like, nah, I don't really love that. Because the other nominees were Tank's Knockout, Bruno Saras over Jaime Mugia, Angela Leo against Luis Alberto Lopez, and my personal pick is Lucas Body over H2O. That is the knockout of the year. To me, like, yeah, there's a lot of great knockouts, but like that is the one. Like, it was so crazy, losing the fight, like an undefeated prospect. Like, this guy was H2O. Like, I thought he was gonna be like one of the next big things in boxing, and he can still be, but he's out of nowhere. Put him to sleep. I mean, that was the craziest knockout I've seen this year. And also, like, he put him to sleep. Like, nobody else on this list actually like put their person unconscious per se. Leo's was good as well. I wouldn't necessarily choose that one over Body, but that's a really good contender for it. The Saras one was good just because of how, like, again, that was also another unexpected one. Kind of same thing as the Body one. I don't think it was as necessarily as good of a knockout, but it was just like the out of nowhere, like, what, you know? Tank, against Frank Martin was really good. Just a great shot, great knockout. And the Daniel Dubois one was good. I don't know. And this is when I realized, I was like, they're going to give everything to Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk tonight. Like, everything. And it's weird because we'll talk about what another one the Dubois could have gotten. But I actually think would have made more sense than him getting KO of the year. But I wasn't necessarily like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like he had the knockout of the year. It's mainly because of he knocked out AJ in a big upset in Wembley Stadium in the main event of a huge Riyadh season card. I was like, they're going to give everything here. Somebody who's connected to Riyadh season was what I was thinking. Also because if you looked, they weren't giving anything out to anybody who wasn't there. So I don't know if they had chosen already and they were like, hey, you need to be here. We're going to give you an award. Or if they were had decided, okay, who's coming? All right, well, we're not going to give it to, okay, Lucas Body's not coming? Okay, we'll give it to him. Like, literally, the only actually people who could have won this award that I think, I could be wrong, were Daniel Dubois and Bruno Saras. And Bruno Saras, we'll just talk about it now. He got upset of the year. Totally deserves that one. Bakram Murtazaliev got nominated. Some people, that wasn't an upset. He was the defending champion. It's just that, he wasn't as well known. I thought that Timsy was going to win. He was also the fashion he upset him in. Liam Paro did have a good upset, to be honest. I feel like people kind of overdo that upset. Like, I didn't think that Subriel Matias was going to absolutely demolish him. I had Subriel Matias as like a 65-35 favorite in that fight, like 60-40. Like, I didn't think that it was. I thought it was a really good matchup. I thought Liam Paro had a decent chance of beating him. It was definitely surprising. It definitely was an upset, but like biggest upset of the year? No way. Angelo Leo, another one that's kind of similar. There's also the fashion that he beat him in. Like nobody really expected that for him to win that fight. Fumalele Kafu and Pedro Taduran, they did both have big upsets. Kafu had a huge upset, as did Taduran in Japan. But yeah, no, Bruno Saras definitely was the biggest one because this was like Munguia's homecoming. Like people were shitting on Saras, saying like, oh, well, who is he? Like why are you fighting this guy? And he knocked him out. He beat him, which is just nuts. Comeback of the year they gave to Billy Dibb, which I wasn't really familiar with Billy Dibb's story. After learning it, I am like totally like, yeah, no, he probably does deserve it. He had cancer, beat cancer, came back, got back in the ring and won. That's nuts. That's seriously impressive. That's great. Daniel Dubois, that was one I thought that had I not known Billy Dibb's story, had he not been nominated, I would have said, yeah. Because Billy Dibb was a huge comeback in terms of like his life, like coming back from cancer and being able to step up, get in the ring and win a fight is huge. That's a huge comeback for your life and stuff. Career-wise, like he had already, like in terms of you just look at his boxing career, it's like he'd already, been winning before that, But like life, like 1,000%, like he does deserve this award. But if you look at solely just like how their career was going, I think it kind of has to be Daniel Dubois. Leo had a good one as well, as did Yabuki and Taduran. Taduran had a really good one, but Dubois, I mean, like lost to Usyk last year, and I know the Miller fight wasn't this year, but coming back, beating Filip Hrgović and then Anthony Joshua and is now on top of the world. Like that's crazy comeback. Like he lost to Usyk not even a year and a half ago. Like nobody thought he'd be, people had been demanding for him to fight Usyk next. Here we are. Nick Bald got nominated. I know that he had the draw with Ray Vargas. That wasn't even a loss. Like he should not have been nominated. I feel like they just nominated him because he's a Queensberry guy and he's a Riyadh season guy. That's kind of my issue with a lot of the nominations on this card is that I don't know if there's a single category where it's not like some kind of Riyadh season event was, fighter or something was nominated. Speaking of round of the year, Usyk and Fury round 9. It was a fantastic round. Fantastic round. I'm not mad at people saying, oh, this was the best round of the year. It was definitely like, it was the biggest fight of the year, and it was crazy when it happened. It was like, oh my gosh, is he going to go down? And it was nuts. Joshua Dubois got nominated. Yeah, I mean, that one was kind of crazy. Yeah, but I don't know if that's like the craziest one. Ortiz Boachuk was great. Ford Kolmatov, that one could have won. McKenna Laws also could have won. My pick was Mason Vasquez, just because nobody thought that Mason was going to get hurt, was going to lose that fight. He gets dropped. He comes back. He knocks the other guy down. Vasquez comes and he knocks Mason down again. I mean, it was nuts. It was absolute pandemonium. Like, by far the round of the year for me. It just wasn't as big of a fight. That's why I was like, okay, they're just going to give Fury Usyk everything just because it was the biggest fight and it was an awesome fight. Doesn't mean he gets every award. But I was okay with getting round of the year, but that one I thought, should have been Mason Vasquez. Moses Atama gets prospect of the year. He deserves it, and I feel really bad actually for Abdullah Mason because he just had that slip up in round 1 where he got caught and dropped, and that cost him. And again, Moses Atama got it because he was on the big Riyadh season stage, So, but Moses Atama does deserve it. He also went 4-0 with 4 knockouts. Abdullah Mason went 5-0 with 5 knockouts, but the names Atama beat, this fashion he did it in, and then nobody showed him any kind of adversity. Mason got dropped twice in that last fight, and that cost him Prospect of the Year, where he really wanted Prospect of the Year. He was talking about it a lot, that's like the thing that he really wanted to accomplish this year. He was like, surely I'm the lock for Prospect of the Year. Nope, don't get it. Emiliano Vargas was nominated. I mean, he was really just between Atama and Mason, but Yoenli Hernandez, he's already in a mandatory position, I think. So I don't know if you can really call him prospect. So you'd have to call Andy Cruz prospect then as well. He's just had so little fights. John Arobio, like that he got a shout at, as I like that Daniel Pinheiro did. Daniel Pero, sorry. The Fear, he's awesome. He's like honestly similar to Atama, the way he just like eradicates people. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Like he is seriously good, seriously scary, dangerous heavyweight prospect. I like that he got mentioned. He also got to mention his trainer got to mention, Bob Santos. Robert Garcia won Trainer of the Year, as he should. Andy Lee got up there just for the Joseph Parker fight. And a lot of people, in fact, actually they nominated Joseph Parker at first for Fight of the Year. And then I think they remember that the Wilder fight was 2023. He only fought once this year. So he doesn't really deserve Fighter of the Year. But Mark Ramsey, that's another good one. He trained Baturbiev, Don Charles, trained Dubois. Rudy Hernandez had some good fighters, but a lot of these fighters was just like one fighter that they trained. So Robert Garcia, though, I mean, he had so many good fighters and prospects. He had Bam Rodriguez, Virgil Ortiz, like those are just like the champion level fighters. He had so many prospects. Like I think his record this year was like his fighters went like 77-7. That's nuts, and he's there for almost all of his fighters' fights. Undoubtedly deserves Trainer of the Year. I apologize. Event of the Year was Fury Usyk 1. I agree with this one. If you look at the other events, you had really the only other one that I thought they could give it to was Joshua Dubois. Inoue Neri was really cool. I don't know if you get that one Event of the Year. The double bill in Tokyo was a really cool concept. I'm cool that got nominated. Crawford Madrimov and Joshua Dubois were obviously like the Riyadh season outside of Riyadh, so they both get nominations as they should. Joshua Ngannou got one as well, which was cool. The only event here that I think that they're missing, and honestly I think could probably get it, was Paul Tyson. I know it's not, traditional boxing per se, but like, come on. And that's in AT&T Stadium on Netflix. Taylor Serrano too, like the huge audience like that probably gets it, but it's not who's going to come to the event. So Fury Usyk gets it because the spectacle and the hype was crazy. The spectacle for Joshua Dubois may have been bigger just because it was Wembley, but I'm not mad at Fury Usyk getting it. I think it probably deserves it over Joshua Dubois. Fight of the Year was Ford Kolmatov. This one really surprised me because I thought that they were going to give it to Fury Usyk. Just because I thought they'd give everything to him. Turbia Bivol got nominated. That one was good. I don't think it's Fight of the Year though. Boachuk Ortiz was great. Martinez Ioka. I really liked Wardley Clark. That was my personal pick just because it was so, like, you had no idea who was ahead. Ford Komotov was good just because it was very back and forth, and it was, like, the finish of it. I don't know if you give it fight of the year. Like, it was the best fight this year. Like, I don't think it's that. But it was a really good fight. I'm not mad at it winning, mainly because I actually, it's weird. I actually think that Fury Usyk may have been a better fight than Ford Komotov, but I just didn't want to see Fury Usyk win everything. Like, come on. But then we have then we have the fighters of the year, and this one's pretty easy. Like, Gabriela Fundora and Alexander Usyk were really the only real nominees. Like, there's no way anybody else could get it. Sinisa Estrada, she also became undisputed and then retired. So maybe I thought about her, but Gabriela Fundora had 3 world title fights this year, won all of them, 2 of them by stoppage, and she stopped, Alanis for the undisputed championship, youngest undisputed champion in amazing fashion. She totally gets the award. And then Usyk, I don't even need to say anything, is the only real candidate, fighter of the year for sure. The Lifetime Achievement Award they gave to Don King. I mean, I get it. He is one of the best promoters of all time in terms of, like, his character and, like, promoting the fights and putting on the big events. But, like, the guy's a scumbag. He's a criminal. He's stolen a lot of money. I think he's killed people. He's raped people. He's just kind of like, I don't know. It feels kind of weird to give it to him. But I understand it from a career perspective. But for a person, like, there's a reason why his promotion, even though he's still technically promoting fights, there's a reason why his aren't on the big stage anymore. His career is kind of dead. But Lifetime, he is a huge, very recognizable character in the sport of boxing. I get it. Now let's talk about some of the other things about this award show. One thing that I understand, that I didn't even hate the red carpet. Just seeing all the different fighters and, like, characters in boxing show up, it was super cool. I was like, dang, like, so many people are here. Like, it may have been the most amount of like stars in boxing in one place I've ever seen. It was crazy. It was awesome. So I really, really enjoyed seeing all these guys, together. But I feel like the red carpet went on for a little bit too long. It was mainly just that they promoted it like this. It starts at 8 p.m. UK time, and the actual thing didn't start until 10 p.m. UK time, like the actual award show. So that was kind of annoying because I was like, okay, like, when are we actually going to start it? Like, I would rather them say red carpet next year, say red carpet starts at this time, awards start at this time. Also, their musical performance sucked. Like, she was just like, I don't know, that's just not really my type of music. She was just kind of like singing, not even words. And it was just like, kind of like, all right, get on with it. Like, we don't care. She sang like 4 or 5 songs. It was like a 15, 20 minute performance. It was just, nobody cares. Like, I understand they have to do that stuff. And then they closed it out with, like, the orchestra playing, like, Eye of the Tiger and the Rocky theme and stuff, and, like, Thriller, which was cool, I guess. Like, not really that necessary. Whatever. I thought that performance at the beginning went on way too long. And then when they did the actual presentations, I mean, they, like, sped through it, like, so fast. So fast. And I was like, yo, if you guys need to, like, actually watch the Oscars, because it felt kind of like the Oscars, as they were saying. The Oscars, they've got like filler in between. Also, they have ads, which this didn't have any ads. And I don't want it to be like we're watching the award show and then we just go back to, like, Ade Oladipo up on, like, the back studio talking with, like, Darren Barker and stuff. Like, nobody wants to see that. But you can give us, like, them, you can, like, throw on, like, maybe a performance in the middle, or they have, like, some boxers there, or they, like, do some, like, Lifetime Achievement Award is in the middle, they announce a fight or something, or they, like, recognize somebody for something else, like, just do anything. Just because it felt a little bit like I enjoyed them going through it fast, but also it felt like this isn't really like a show. It didn't feel as much of a show. It felt like they just had all these things that they wanted to do, and they didn't break it up to make it more of an evenly distributed show. They just did each of the things, like, one at a time. But overall, I like that we did that. I like that we did the Ring Magazine Awards. I hope that they can keep doing this. I think it's a cool idea for boxing to have. I enjoyed it overall. Okay, now we'll go through some of the news from this week. We'll try not to spend too long on it. Matchroom Boxing signed Nishant Dev, who is a an Indian Olympian prospect. He's going to make his debut on January 25th on the Pacheco Nelson card in Vegas. That's cool. Like that they're signing these Olympians, and debuting them quick. Like it's just cool to see. Like it. Harlem Eubank returns to Brighton on a Wasserman show on March 7th. They haven't announced his opponent yet. I'm really hoping it's somebody decent. You know what I mean? His last opponent, the fight was just, first of all, it was hard to watch. Like, so many points were taken away from both guys, I think. It was only 8 rounds. Like, come on. He was out of the ring for a year and he comes back to that. I mean, he was supposed to fight Adam Azim. That never happened. Like, this guy's not that great. Like, just put him in, like, a big fight. Get him in there with, like, Adam Azim, Dalton Smith, Pierce O'Leary. Like, that kind of, like, you know, because he's in there. He's in the mix with those guys, in that, like, British 140 mix. Just do it. Like, nobody cares to see him headlining against a random guy. Misfits signed 18-time national champion Kayla Gomez to their pro division. She's like their 4th or 5th pro fighter. It's very interesting what they're doing there. Misfits Boxing is now trying to do boxing. I think they're going to start doing MMA. They're doing a pro division. Like, they're actually trying to, have these prospects and get them out multiple times a year. And they've signed some really good talent. Like, guys like Amir Anderson. Like, he's probably going to be world champion, And you've got guys like Johan Ingram in there as well. Kayla Gomez seems pretty good. Like, they're going to really build these fighters up. They're going to put them on the big stage in Misfits and on pro cards. Really interesting and cool disruption that they're working on over there. Jack Catterall, Arnold Barboza for the WBO interim belt. To be honest, at this point, I think that they'll probably end up getting that actual belt. The winner will probably be upgraded. I don't know if Tio's actually going to fight them or if he's going to vacate and move up to 147 or even just vacate for another fight or something. I have no idea what's going on with him. But yeah, they will. This honestly could be a world title fight. It likely will end up meaning that whoever wins this fight, they could end up being world champion. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev is next. Apparently, I think from Era Helwani, he's the one who sourced that. This is probably the fight for Pereira. I'm a huge Pereira fan. He's my favorite UFC fighter, so I'm kind of worried. A lot of people are saying Ankalaev actually has the chance to beat him. I don't know yet. We know Pereira's not the best wrestler, and that's what Ankalaev is gonna try and bring to him. So hopefully Pereira can knock him out. Apparently, he was also in discussions with Volkov to fight on 313 at heavyweight. So there's a chance that. But then I don't know if that was disproven or something. But I mean, if that would make sense. Volkov got robbed against Gane, and Dana White said, "Look, I'll make it up to you some way." That would be it. Pereira could make the move to heavyweight, and that could honestly. Pereira is such a big star. He could headline a pay-per-view without even it being a title fight. But yeah, so we'll see. I think it's going to be Ankalaev, though. I think he should fight Ankalaev because he is the most deserving contender. Then move up to heavyweight. I think he should fight John Jones, Tom Aspinall winner. I don't think he should fight Volkov first. Just throw him right in there. I don't care. I wouldn't mind the Volkov fight. Brandon Royval and Manel Kape are going to headline UFC Vegas 103 on March 1st. They've got another 2 flyweight fights on that undercard. Steve Versek's fighting. I'm a big Steve Versek fan. I think from what I'm hearing, though, he's probably going to lose against the guy. I can't pronounce his name. But Urseg. You got Ursig on that card. You got Royval and Kape. I'm a little bit confused. I thought Royval, he's number 1, so I'm kind of worried, thinking is this an eliminator for the title? Because Pantoja did just fight in December. Hopefully it's Pantoja versus the winner of this fight. I don't know who else, but Pantoja's already beaten Royval. I don't know if he's fought Kape, but he's probably beaten him too. He's beaten everyone, so I don't really know what to do with him. Subriel Matias has been ordered to fight. Is the name? Is it Gabriel Valenzuela? It's something with a G, but Valenzuela. I think it's an eliminator for number 1. I think it's the IBF. I could be wrong, but that has been ordered. Winner of that to fight Richardson Hitchens. So Subriel Matias likely going to get a shot right back at his old belt. If he comes through this, which he may. It's a good fight. We'll see it happen. Devin Haney is in discussions with Turkey. Al Sheikh. This is good. I'd much rather see him return on Riyadh season than BLK Prime. That's really why he had his open workout in London, was because he came for the Ring Awards. He presented, by the way, he and Ryan Garcia almost clashed on the red carpet. I think it was Dev Sawney interviewing him, and he was literally trying. He was stalling, and he said he was like, "I'm just stalling, waiting for Ryan Garcia to or waiting for Devin Haney to walk by here," as he was talking to Ryan, and I think they kind of moved him along, like, no, we don't want to see them interact. Um, but Ryan looked a little bit like, oh man, he looked like he didn't really want to get into it. Not saying he was scared, he just looked disinterested in it. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But anyways, Devin Haney's in discussions with His Excellency to return on Riyadh season. I'd much rather prefer that than the BLK Prime. Like, he's gonna have him fight someone real, not like Adrian Broner or something like that. Yeah, hopefully they can get that done. Speaking of His Excellency, actually we'll talk about that in a minute. Luis Nery is returning in February, probably in Mexico, I think. That's cool. We don't know who he's gonna fight yet. I think they're gonna announce it soon. I don't even know if they have a date, but I don't think he's fought since the Inoue loss. I think he was supposed to fight on the Mugia card in December, but that didn't happen. So I thought he was supposed to fight Picasso on that card. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in February. UFC 311, Johnny Walker's out of the card with an injury. I just saw, which is a bit disappointing. But we move. Speaking of move, UFC 311 may be moving locations. We don't know yet. No decision has been made. But as I'm sure everyone knows, there's terrible wildfires all throughout LA right now. This fight is scheduled for LA at the Intuit Dome. It is possible that it could be a safety hazard. They could have to move the card, and that it could get moved. I think T-Mobile Arena is empty. Apparently, there's nothing booked for that date, so they could try and do it there. UFC on Vegas home turf. Really interested to see what happens there. See, and if it does, like how many of the tickets they can still sell. Yeah, so we'll see. Dennis McCann, reportedly, he is tested positive for, what were the substances? Drostanolone and Trenbolone in his VADA test that he failed before the Peter McGrail fight, which had to get canceled. Yeah, we're going to see what happens with McCann. He's probably going to have to... I wouldn't be surprised if it's real, and he'll have to serve some sort of a sentence, I hope. But then I mean, even though I think that drug cheats suck, and it's awful for the sport and for any sport, I still want to see the fighters fight, and I want to see the fights happen. So give him a sentence. I don't know how serious those drugs are, and it's not up to me, but however long you give it to him, ban him for a little bit, and then have him come back, work his way back up, and, return when the time's ready. But don't ever do that again. Yeah, we can talk about His Excellency. So, top 5 fights he named: Canelo Crawford, Usyk Dubois 2, Fury Joshua, Garcia Haney 2, Eubank Ben. We're in good hands. If all these fights happen, that's awesome. Those are probably the 5 biggest fights to be made in boxing. Maybe like Tank and Shakur, but Shakur said that His Excellency said he also wants that fight to happen. So, yeah, that's awesome that, he wants the fights to happen, and he's the guy with the checkbook to make it happen. So let's please see it happen. Also, the Canelo link up. Now listen, Canelo at the Ring Awards, he didn't present anything. He wasn't nominated for anything. I'm saying he came there on business. He wasn't there just to watch the award show, because I feel like we rarely see Canelo actually interact with the rest of the boxing world outside of his own fights and events. He went to the fight in Tokyo because his stablemate Rosales was there. But that's really the only time. I remember that. I was like, man, this is cool seeing him with Inoue. We rarely see him at any other fights or events or anything. But there he was with His Excellency, and he even said yeah, we're open to the Crawford fight, which is really good to see. So I'm excited. I hope that this bodes well for Canelo's future, because His Excellency is the guy that can pay him the $200 million to fight David Benavidez or Terrence Crawford or whoever. So please make it happen. Anything. Peyton Talbot said he wants to fight Andrew Tate. That's just pretty funny. I think he's a lot smaller than Andrew Tate, but he's really good. It's not going to happen, but it's funny. Paddy the Baddy versus Michael Chandler I saw as a possibility. That would be a crazy matchup. I really like that fight. That's a 50-50 fight. Michael Chandler actually may even win that. So we'll see. I like that. Tank wants $150 million for the Garcia rematch. Ain't going to happen. I mean, maybe if His Excellency wants it, but I don't think that anybody really wants to see that rematch that bad. It's just that we could tell Ryan Garcia was weight trained. So if Tank moves up, and it really becomes, and they become the top two guys, but I don't know if it will. And then Williams Zepeda, Tevin Farmer 2 in negotiations. That is big. I really, really hope that Zepeda can just get his world title shot, because I don't really. Yeah, the Tevin Farmer fight was really close, but I don't think that it's like, man, we really need to see that one run back. I really want to see him get his world title shot, because he is like literally number one in all the sanctions. At least I don't know if he still is, but he was. And he's WBC interim champion, so maybe he's not mandatory anymore. But he needs to fight for the belt. Lastly, we'll talk about, and this is pretty big. Apparently, Saudi Arabia and TKO, or is in conversations with TKO and Dana White about a boxing league. Now, this would make sense. Dana White has been said, he's like, I'm about to get all into boxing. The thing he's working on that is going to blow our minds, this could be it. His Excellency has said he wants the UFC model. He just said that the other day, where we don't care about wins and losses for fighters. If this happens, this is massive. Like, I don't know if I really want to see it happen, because they're going to have to start from the ground up. They're going to have to sign a lot of fighters that aren't with the top promotions, unless the promotions, choose to do it. Like, I don't even know how it would work, just because of how the boxing business already is. But I could really see this happening. And I think it'd be crazy. So let's see it happen. Why not? Let's do it. At least see how they try to do it. But that's huge. And it's not necessarily His Excellency that's having the conversations. I think it's more like Saudi Arabia that's having the conversation. So somebody said His Excellency maybe getting pushed out with the ring. I think he maybe got a little bit of flack for budgeting these cards outside of the country. And that's why those cards will now be the ring that he bought himself. I don't know. It's a really interesting situation. So we will see what happens there. Probably won't get announced for a while, I'm guessing. But if that happens, it would totally disrupt the sports world. Yeah. That's all for today's episode. It was long. Had a lot to talk about just from the Ring Awards and Inoue's opponent and the two fights we had yesterday. Next week, there's a UFC Fight Pass, Hollywood Fight Nights 360 boxing promotions event with Omar Trinidad, and they've got a women's world title fight on that undercard, so that should be fun. That's on Friday the 17th. Saturday, we have Misfits 20, Darren Till, Anthony Taylor, and Wade fighting. I'm really excited for that. We've got UFC 311, absolutely huge UFC card. I cannot wait. That's going to be so much fun. Probably my most anticipated card of the month. And then we've got there's a BKFC fight night in Pachanga, I'm not sure how to say it. And that's all on Saturday next week. So we'll talk more throughout the week, probably one or two more episodes this week. So see you later. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter. I tweeted a ton yesterday. I was spamming during all the fights and stuff. Probably going to lay back on that in the future, but I just had a lot of fun. So, thanks for listening. Peace.